Hello, everybody. We are looking today at Threshold, a game that is currently on GameFound. If I remember, I'll try to paste a link in the description. They are currently having what I guess is called an open alpha weekend, where they're releasing this game on Tabletop Simulator. I don't know how they're going to contain it to a weekend. As far as I understand it, if you make a save game in Tabletop Simulator, you can keep playing that game, but maybe they're just intending to sort of focus on demoing at this time. So yeah, what is Threshold? I've played a much earlier version of this that was just like a combat demo. So one of the core things about the game, I mean, the what is Threshold, I think, is one of the questions I'm trying to answer today. But one of the core concepts is that this is sort of taking concepts from things like MMOs and those type of open world RPG, video gamey type things and bringing them to a tabletop environment. Some of the core components that I'm aware of is that there's a pretty big focus on this card combat where your characters have decks of cards that represent their abilities, and there's a bit of deck building and stuff involved in it, as far as I understand. And then there's an open world component where you're traveling around these different locations that have entries, different activities you can do in these towns. You're collecting quests. There's a combat component that, as mentioned, that seems to have some positional elements to it. So there's a lot going on. As I mentioned in the past, I only played the combat demo, and anybody that watches my channel knows that I'm much more of a sort of role-playing exploration type person. So the reason I'm taking another look at this is I know that there is this open world questing component. So what I'm going to be trying to figure out for myself today is how strong is that feeling of role-playing or exploration, as opposed to just kind of, well, not just, some people obviously, like, there's the Slay the Spire component, of course, right? Like the deck building strategic card game thing, which I think they're trying to infuse here, but I want to see if those sort of meld together well, or if it feels like not so much. So what I'm doing here, I just opened the, as I try to do with a lot of my Tabletop Simulator videos, I tried to open it to what you would see if you open Tabletop Simulator. I went to single player and started a copy here. This is two characters, so I'm going to be playing these two characters myself, but you could play with somebody else. And then I just want to show you, like, this one probably more than others is an experiment for me. I know not too much about this game. I started kind of doing the learn to play, and I was like, hey, it might be kind of an interesting idea to learn to play on recording. So saves me time. I don't have to spend hours like learning how to play and then coming back and doing a demo of stuff I've already played. But if the game has a learn to play, then the idea should be that we should be able to learn from that. I will say I already ran into one or two questions. If I have something where I need to go, like, extensively, if I'm just getting stuck or need to look up a role, I'll pause the video. But my goal is to try to walk you through my experience learning it, and hopefully you'll learn along the way and also maybe answer some questions and stuff. So let's dive in. I already have a bit of understanding about the layout of the Tabletop Simulator demo, somewhat. There's obviously like a bunch of card stuff over here. You have your two characters. In this demo, there is the Mystic, which is obviously the more like magic-oriented class, and I think the other one's called the Guardian, or a more physical combatant class. There's a bunch of like dice and card stuff over here, tokens. There's these token bags across the top that they look like for pulling out unlimited resources. You have the world map here. These appear to be little tactical maps. It's interesting that we have a big one up here, and then we have these two smaller ones next to the heroes. We have some hero sheets. We have some more maps up here that I'm not really sure what they're all for. And then there's a system here for pulling out enemies. So it's specifically like, don't touch this, use the deploy. Essentially, there's a tool for pulling out and deploying enemies. So you can it says click token button on card to collect tokens needed for that enemy. So there's a little bit of scripting here to display stuff. So here are books over here. They're very small. We have a Heartland Prairies Encounter book, Heartland Prairies Region book. We have the rule book. And then this is something that I think they maybe messed up on a little bit. This PDF is turned to the last page. So one of the first things you have to do is, I'm just going to type 1 here to go to the first page, and you'll see that this is the how to play guide. So I already looked at this, and the rule book is something like 38 pages. And they've mentioned that the rule book is, if you need to dive into the rules a bit more, the how to play is 22 pages. So we'll see how long this takes. I'm not going to make this a 3-hour video, but if this is interesting, I may make a couple parts if it takes longer than the first little bit, but let's just start moving through to how to play. As mentioned, I've done a little bit of looking into this and already figured out one thing that I can point out. So here's the table of contents. We have the welcome, introduction, setup, core concepts, round, turn structure. Then we got a structured learn, play, and a conclusion. So hopefully this will lead us through. Just noting that this is stuff is going to change. So here's the introduction. This is something that's interesting to me. Like, I play these games to sort of explore a world. So I want to know if this is going to be just kind of a very light touch world that doesn't have a lot going on and it's more about the mechanics, or if you actually, the quests and the stories are anchored in something meaningful. So I enjoy this stuff. I'll read this in case somebody's listening to this. It says, thousands of years ago, in an era long forgotten, swirling vortexes appeared across Haven. Throngs of refugees fled through these thresholds, pursued by nightmarish horrors. These were the last humans of their world, hunted to near extinction during a great conflict. Buoyed by the hope of an untarnished land, these remnants of humanity rallied to vanquish the horrors and seal the thresholds. As history faded from memory, the hard-earned lessons of the past were lost to time. Greed for personal gain grew, and eventually war spread throughout the nations of Haven. Today marks 200 years of peace since the Great Haven War. People from all over have gathered to commemorate the occasion with a grand summer celebration. The streets of Hearthstead are filled with folk from the Heartland Prairies, Sandstone Desert, Red Cat River Valley, Ridgeback Mountains, and beyond. But the months-long celebration of peace has been shattered. The thresholds of old have reappeared, leading to panic and confusion across all of Haven. Some brave citizens, such as yourselves, have fought back the first wave outside the town of Bayfort, but more monsters pour out every day. The leaders of the Haven Council have been quiet, huddled in secret meetings to discuss these troubling signs. Leaders and citizens alike desperately hope for heroes of this age to emerge. You begin your journey on Bayfort, wounded from the fight. So it seems like, we're coming in midstream to this story. People have pointed out, I'd played World of Warcraft and some of the Warcraft stuff, that there's like the Dark Portal in World of Warcraft where like orcs are pouring in. Seems like there's some similarities there, but in this case, the humans are those sort of interlopers on this untarnished world. It's sort of implied that there might be other species here that were already there when the humans came in, and now these portals are reopening and monsters are coming through. So pretty light touch so far, but we'll see. They mention a bunch of areas here, Heartland Prairies, blah, 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 that may have thought put into them, so we'll see. And here you go. What is Threshold? Threshold is a massive open world role-playing game. Okay, if you put it that way, I like open world role-playing games, but what they do with that is a question. It blends tactical card combat, deep character customization, epic story, and a living world that responds to your choices. I like that. Threshold is played solo or cooperatively. You'll create a character, explore regions, complete quests, etc. So we'll go here into the setup. Most of the setup has been done already. It's basically saying choose a class. I think this might be the rules that were sent out to people, like, this is often what these people will do, is they'll create like a prototype for this, send out to reviewers, and then they'll sort of convert it into a TTS demo so that people can give it a try. So I think these documents might be from that. So it's saying how to set it up. We got the Mystic and the Guardian, collect your components. We already got the character board, character tray. I think everything should be here. It actually is not really set up the way that they have it here, so we might have to do a little bit more. Like, it's saying to grab these starting items. This is what threw me a little bit at the start. And it talks about this class reference board, which has information on it, including what are the starting items. I wasn't originally seeing that. I was like, where the heck are the class reference boards? So you have to, on the tray here, you have to click stats, and it swaps from the picture of the character to their reference board. So we can look at the Guardian here and see that it lists a bunch of stuff here. Hopefully most of this is set out, although I see starting class cards and stuff. I think, if I recall from this, I'm seeing already, like, we have 6 health up here, which is their starting health. There's 10 cards here, which I think I glanced at this, but I see here that there's, if I count correctly, there's 6 cards here as starting cards. I'm sorry, 10 cards. So that should be correct. The only thing that for some reason they didn't give, as far as I can tell, are the starting items. So one of the first things you have to do is get your starting items, because it actually says here in the setup the starting items, which are Mystic starting items, Tattered Robe, Earth Amulet. I feel like this was updated. I swear when I went in here a couple of days ago, it only listed the Guardian. So maybe they updated this, which is good. So it says Tattered Robe and Earth Amulet, Mystic starting items. And then a Splintered Sword and Broken Shield, Guardian. But what's interesting to note is that there are multiple versions of these cards, like Broken Shield and Splintered Sword with different attributes, like Blade. You see it says here, Bladecraft for Splintered Sword as opposed and Aegis for Broken Shield. So we need to be careful to grab those ones in particular. So the items are up here. There's common, uncommon, rare, and affixes, which are these sort of like overlays that you can put onto cards. So I found them in the common deck, so I'm going to try to do this a bit from short-term memory, but Splintered Sword, Broken Shield, and it was Bladecraft and Aegis, I recall. So I'm going to do search here on the common to try to find them. You can't search by, unless they name the cards here, you can't really search by name. So you just kind of have to glance around. It looks like the Broken Shield with Aegis is item 18. Oops. So let me grab that out here. And then we're also looking for the Splintered Sword with Battlecraft or whatever that was. Was it Bladecraft? I think it might have been Bladecraft. I'm going to pull this one out and then verify that with the starting. So yes, I can see here that it's Splintered Sword, Bladecraft, and Broken Shield Aegis. So grab this, put it in here in the board. We have the weapon and armor. So I'm assuming the sword goes in weapon and the armor or the shield goes in armor. And then for the Mystic, we have the Tattered Robe with Ward Weaving and the Amulet of Earth with Nature. So again, there might be multiple versions of this here. I'm going to search for a Tattered Robe with Ward Weaving. Here's what the Tattered Robe looks like. And there's the Nature one. There's Ward Weaving. And I've already forgotten the other one because I was focusing on that, which was Amulet of Earth, Nature. And I think they said in the errata, there's an errata list here, which I can also put in the description if I remember, that this might be called Earth Amulet in here as opposed to Amulet of Earth. Earth Amulet, yeah. Was it, did I say Nature? I see one with Nature. Let me see if that's what it was. I believe it was. Yes. So, I guess it doesn't really say. Let's see. Can I see what this is? It's an accessory. So this would go in the accessory slot. I see that on the bottom of the card here. And this is armor. You can see across the bottom there's armor, tier 1, and I'm assuming this is worth 4 points. I'll put this in armor. So apparently the Mystic doesn't start with any weapons. And then again, we have 10 cards here that are the starting class cards. That we see 10 cards here. So I'm going to shuffle these, but I'm going to assume that these are their starting decks. So hopefully that's most of the setup. Let's bring the PDF back up. So we got the class reference board, character mini or standee. Not seeing those immediately. I'm sure they're around. Maybe it's just these tokens. Character token. Okay. That's character miniature standee, your choice for combat character token matching your class. So see the character tokens here. I don't see the miniatures or standees at first. So that may be a thing when we get into combat. Maybe when we set it up, it'll just throw stuff out there. We will see. So character sheet, we got that. Health, fatigue, and wound tokens. I see it looks like this moon is the fatigue token, which seems to start at 0. And the health token starts at 6. I think for both people, starts at 6. And then there is a wound token, which is over here on the right side, that starts at, looks like 0 wounds. Okay, so I think we're set up. So let's continue. Class deck, we got all this stuff. So let's move forward. Now we create the character deck. I think, again, this has already been done. I'm not just trusting this entirely. I looked through here and it looked like it matched the cards that were here at a glance. So then we can skip that for now, unless we run into some issues down the line. Assemble the character board. So we got placing your dials in your character tray, place your board on top of your tray, class reference into the character board. This I think has already been done for us. Place the 2 starting items in the matching slots. Place your health at 6, fatigue at 0, wounded at 0. Did that. Shuffle your character deck. Yep, that's all done. So, and we're churning through these pages. Okay. Name your character. Sure. So the Guardian will be Dara, and the Mystic will be Kalundra. These are just like boilerplate names I often use. Darthus, my handle gets reserved for like assassins or characters that I really am, personifying or role playing, which I'm considering this more like managing this party at the moment. Hopefully there's some sort of more classes between the Guardian and Mystic. I haven't looked too deeply at the offerings on the project page yet. I'm just kind of diving in and learning by playing. So finalize your character, and if you're playing with those, you can also name your party. Draw 5 cards from your character deck to form your starting hand. So the challenge here is normally Tabletop Simulator works really well with drawing cards. I have to separate out the hands of these characters because I'm playing 2 of them. So there's probably a way in Tabletop Simulator I could do this to like jump between. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Actually turned off the header because I'm trying to make things clean here. But if I do this, then I can change my color and I can be white, and then I can do change color to green to be this. I think this might work. So I think the way I can do this is if I'm the Guardian here, it says to draw 5 cards. So I will type 5 on the deck. That should draw it into my hand. So now here we are with the Guardian. Now let's see. I've never done this in Tabletop Simulator. Let's see if I can switch to the Mystic and do the same and draw 5. Yeah. So now I can jump between these characters. The downside is I can't see all the cards all at once. I could put them down on the table, but this is a little bit more true to playing these two classes separately. So let's go back to the rules here. Draw 5 cards to form your starting hand. Prepare your wound deck. Shuffle the wound cards. Draw 1 and shuffle it into your character deck. Increase your wound tracker by 1. This wound is from a previous battle your character was in. Okay. So we're starting with a wound. And they're noting, it's on the upper right there, there's a thing that they're showing it on the character sheet that you mark down a wound, which is interesting. I don't think the character sheets have been really set out yet. So you can set your health here, your max, it didn't tell me, well, I guess it kind of told me to do this. It doesn't really say to enter this stuff on my character sheet, but it is. So this is, I believe, the wound on the right side. So I'm going to set that to 1 for both people. Although I can also track it on the board. So I'm not really sure why we're doing this. And then, yeah, it's saying, I can note the vocation and class and stuff here. I'm not sure if these skills will be important. So it might be worth marking them down here. I'm seeing 1 Bladecraft, 1 Aegis, and 1 Momentum. So I will mark them down here. Aegis, Bladecraft, that's Brutality. Bladecraft and Momentum. If you're not used to these buttons in Tabletop Simulator, if you left click, it will increase by 1. If you right click, it will decrease by 1. So we got those 3, and then let's look at the Mystic. We got Nature, Ward Weaving, and Resilience. So where's the character sheet? Nature, Ward Weaving, and Resilience. And I'm suspecting that, it seems like 2 of the skills are, I don't know how this works yet, but it seems like these items are giving us skills because I have Ward Weaving and Nature from here, and then we have Resilience from something else, although this says innate skills. So we'll have to see. Hopefully it explains how these cards influence skills and stuff, because this says innate skills, and these cards happen to give the same thing. And it's the same thing with the Guardian. There's innate skills with Bladecraft and Aegis, but it notes the starting items here, so who knows? Maybe that Momentum is inherent to the class, and the Bladecraft and Aegis are coming from the starting items. Take 15 coins and place them in your character tray. So I'm assuming this is the coin tracker over here. We got 5, 10, and 50. So I can click the 10 and the 5. We got 15 there. And I guess they both get 15. That would make sense. And then region setup. With your characters ready, it's time to prepare the starting region, the Heartland Prairies. Each region is designed for a specific level range. While you can freely travel later, the prairies are intended for levels 1 through 15 and serve as an introduction to the world. So to set up, we place the region board on the center table, set the region tray next to it. There is no tray, but I'm wondering, maybe it's not necessary for Tabletop Simulator. So we got the region board here. Set up the region tray. Oh, that's up here. So apparently this is customized for the region. It looks like it's mostly set up, but I see some differences. So place the Heartland. Here's the Prairies quest deck, which is here. It says don't shuffle it, so it seems to be in order. Shuffle each item deck. I'll do that just in case they weren't shuffled. Uncommon, common, and rare. There's an affix deck, which it says to shuffle. Prepare the adventure deck. Set aside cards AH01 and AH32. And then it's saying, oh, interesting. I don't know if this has been set up because I see a stack of adventure cards here. Interesting. There's 7 cards over here. But this looks to be AH35. And then here, this ends in AH32, and there's 33 cards here. So this seems to be the core adventure deck. It's saying set aside cards AH1 and AH32. So AH32 is on the top of this deck, so I'm going to pull it aside. And then AH1, I'll probably have to search for. This can, by the way, if you haven't done this a lot, having a PDF open and opening search just creates a mess. So you always make sure to close that first. And I'm searching for AH1. And this is fun because there's no naming of these things. So I have to, and they seem to be in a random order. I don't think I shuffled these. So I have to manually scan through for AH1. I will say on, here it is. So it's broken wheel. Just for future reference, after I took out AH32, if you're following my process, it's card number 16. So set those aside. And maybe that's like part of the tutorial. And then I don't know what these other 35 cards are. I'm not sure why there are 31 cards when it's AH1 to, maybe my math is off. But anyway, I followed the instructions. So let's expand this out again. AH1 should be the top card. It wasn't, but that's fine. And then it says set those aside, then place. Oh, okay. Shuffle. This is a little bit of instruction. So pull those cards out, shuffle the adventure deck. Then it says place AH1 and 32 back on top, and 1 should be the top card. So assuming that means 32 goes on top, and then 1 goes on top of that for sort of seeding the deck with these first 2 encounters. Then shuffle the renown cards. The renown cards appear to be these little cards up here with Heartland Prairie on them. It's there now, so shuffle those. Place the loot dice. So these are apparently dice for, we have common, uncommon, and rare, it looks like, by rarity. Place the quest tokens. Looking at the thing here. Quest tokens are on the right, so these are already here. Place the following tokens into their wells. Coins, mineral supplies, essence, etc. I don't think you need to do this in Tabletop Simulator because we already have these bags up here. If you haven't used Tabletop Simulator yet, when you mouse over these, you see the infinity symbol. That means that this is like an infinite bag of these resources. So if you needed minerals, you could pull one from here. You can pull as many as you want. You can even delete them. Doesn't matter. These will, so these serve the purpose of the wells in the whatever this tray is called. So you don't need that. Okay. So let's keep moving. Set up neutral card supplies beside the region tray. I'm assuming, I think I saw these here already. We got boons and burdens. Here's boons, here's burdens. Wounds look like they're down here at other. So these are all set up, looks like. Set up the first quest. So place the quest card, pie delivery, into the first spot of the quest tracker on the region tray. It seems to already be there with 28 cards underneath that. Looking back, it says to put the quest deck there. That's a little bit confusing because it says to put the quest deck into this tray. Does it say that? Yeah. Place the quest deck, do not shuffle. But then here it says place the quest card, pie delivery, into the first spot of the quest tracker on the region tray, which appears to be where it told us to put the quest deck. So that's a little bit confusing to me, although it is the case that pie delivery is on top. So I will just continue on here. I would think that this would mean that this deck would be outside and that this is your like list of active quests. So it doesn't make sense for the deck to be in here to me, but, I'm not going to break from instructions yet, but I'm going to try to remember that. Place the associated quest token on the region board indicated in the quest card. So we can look at this quest card. What we see is, can I close this PDF again? Is that there is a sort of picture of the map here. So we have, we can see next to Riverton and below Hearthstead, they're telling us to put a quest marker here. The quest appears to be engage, defeat the bandits guarding the berries. It says Duran Hearthstead's premier pie maker wants to make a signature cloverberry pies to welcome the leaders of Haven Council. We are blessed to have such luminaries in our humble city, Dren says. Sadly, Dren has run out of cloverberries and asked you to fetch some. Beware of bandits, though. They've been more active lately, for some reason. I'm realizing that this may be... I watched Mike from the co-op shop play through the prototype. And I think this might have been what he did as well. So I might be kind of repeating what he did, but hopefully this is helpful for people to try to play this game in Tabletop Simulator. So pie delivery, it's telling us to take this quest marker, this little guy. I only see one up here, interestingly, for the star, and put it just to the left of Riverton and Arstead. So you can see here, obviously this doesn't take effect in Tabletop Simulator, but the actual physical board has little wells here. It's dual layered. So you would be putting this down into kind of a little space that'll keep it from shifting around, I guess. So yeah, let's see, we did that first. So I gotta go back to PDF. Quest card, put the quest token out, place all character tokens in the starting location on the region board, Bayfort. So we're starting in Bayfort. Apparently there was just a combat there, it said. So we can grab one. I don't know why we have 2 tokens, but we can put this in Bayfort. And let's see where Bayfort is. I will just zoom in here. Bayfort is up north. So here's the Guardian and here's the Mystic going into Bayfort. And it says any extra components not needed for now can be set aside until later. Your region is now ready. The Heartland Prairies await your first steps into Threshold. So I think we're 26 minutes into this video. So I'm going to pause here. I'll just call this one setup and probably keep doing this, but I'll make another video in case maybe this will just help people if you just want to get set up with the Tabletop Simulator demo. And then we'll dive into gameplay next. See you all later.